The Rockwell OV-10 Bronco was used by the Americans throughout the Vietnam conflict, where the Vietnamese learned to know that if they saw the aircraft loitering above, an airstrike was imminent. Now in the Gulf, an overflying OV-10A or D would mean the exact same thing for the Iraqis. An attack from a Harrier or AH-1 or even battleship was incoming. This is the story of Desert Storm's OV-10 Broncos. If you want to learn more about the Marines in the Gulf, you should consider subscribing right now. I'm uploading a bunch of Marine Corps Gulf War content soon, and I wouldn't want you to miss out if you are interested. Now back to the Bronco. The Bronco was designed in the 60s as a light attack and observation aircraft intended for COIN, counterinsurgency missions, or the role it played in the Gulf, which was a forward air controller. A forward air controller guides close air support to targets in order to increase accuracy and efficiency of attacks, therefore reducing blue-on-blue engagements where enemies are in close proximity to friendlies, like in the Battle of Kafji. The FAC in the Bronco would use binoculars, or in the later D variant, the flare pod, to locate positions, get the coordinates and relay them back to the attack aircraft, such as the AV-8. I've got a video on her role in the Gulf right here. It'll teach you a bit more about the communication between fast FACs and the F-18Ds and the AV-8s. In observation squadrons, VMO 1 and 2 will be deploying a total of 18 Broncos to the theatre, which were shipped from the US to the Gulf aboard the USS Theodore Roosevelt and USS America. Now, you may be wondering how they got the Broncos aboard the carriers. Well, there were trials in the late 60s on JFK with this Bronco with a pointy nose, slamming his brakes as soon as he gets on the deck, but for the Gulf they were just craned on. I know, right? Pretty anticlimactic. They set sail and the Marines got a bit bored, and by the time they got to the Mediterranean on January 9th, 1991, they decided to abandon the Navy and make a few hops to get to the forward base of Al Jubail in Saudi Arabia. Al Jubail base was hastily made to accommodate all the Marines, including all the Harriers. It only took roughly 5 minutes for the fast movers to reach the border between Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. The average mission duration for the Broncos would roughly be 4 hours. The Broncos will be supporting the 1st and 2nd Marine Divisions, as well as other coalition forces in the area. They will loiter above Kuwait at around 6,000 feet, scouting and sending coordinates of positions back to the fast movers to destroy. Radar-guided missiles weren't so much of a problem as SEAD protection was almost constantly flown and the Iraqi Air Force was pretty much non-existent by day 3 of the war, which left the only threat to the aircraft as IR-guided SAMs. Now let's have a look at a mission. On January 18th, 1991, day 2 of Desert Storm, a Bronco took off for a mission over Kuwait, piloted by Lieutenant Colonel Clifford Ackery, with Guy Hunter as the aerial observer. They took off from Al Jubail at around 8:30 AM and got to Kuwait at around 9 AM. They'd been tasked with looking for Iraqi artillery. After a crew set up the search pattern, both started looking for the artillery. They spotted a rocket launcher battery and took down its coordinates. Both Marine aviators were pronounced as being dead. However, they had survived as they were seen on TV broadcasted by the Iraqis, and were the first of 5 Marines to become prisoners of war in Desert Storm. Due to Iraqi artillery being so low on the Air Force's targeting list, they retaliated to the air attacks on Iraqi forces by firing at Kafji, a coastal town in Saudi Arabia. The Marines would take care of these artillery batteries using forward air controllers and CAS. An OV-10 from VMO 1 found an Iraqi artillery site just after dawn. He got the coordinates of the positions and relayed them back to the CAS aircraft. In this case, they were AV-8Bs from VMFA 311. The Bronco's FAC recalled seeing the artillery barrels tumbling down after being blown sky high by the Harriers. In late January, the Iraqis started lighting the Kuwaiti oil fields, making visibility extremely bad for the OV-10s, causing the Broncos to have very low maximum altitude. Some fires reached several thousand feet up in the sky, forcing aircrews to navigate the fiery maze. When they returned to Al-Jubail, the aircraft had a thin layer of oil and fire residue on the skin of the airframe. Between the 3rd and the 9th of February, the OV-10s brought some serious firepower to the Khafji area. They spotted and sent coordinates to battleships USS Missouri and Wisconsin, who shelled the living daylights out of the Iraqis, pushing into the Saudi town. Spotting for the battleship's 16-inch guns were also carried out by Marine fire control teams and the battleship's own unmanned aerial vehicles. As the coalition started to get a much stronger grasp on Saddam Hussein's forces, and his surrender was going to come soon, the 1st and 2nd Marine Divisions and other coalition forces pushed into Kuwait City on 24th of February. On the 25th, Marines Major Joseph Small III and his observer Captain David Spalacy were tasked with locating an Iraqi tank column. After Small set up the search pattern, Spalacy started looking. They both rejected, however Spalacy was killed. Major Small was captured and landed right in the center of a group of Iraqi soldiers, 3 to 5 kilometers deep into enemy lines. Small was taken in, and after several stops in Kuwaiti City, made it to Baghdad in a journey that lasted a couple of days. From the Iraqi point of view, they somehow believed that this was a major intelligence coup, where General Salah Aboud recalled that they had downed an enemy heli with 2 pilots. One died in the crash and the other survived and was carrying the American plan of the attack. This plan of the attack Spalacy was carrying was actually his OV-10's flight map. Spalacy said, and I quote, "It was the biggest, grandest lie I think I've ever told in my entire life." After being kept as a prisoner of war and mistreated, suffering an ordeal that no human should ever have to endure, along with other aviators, he was released at the end of the war. Both the MO-1 and 2 would lose 1 aircraft each during the conflict. The war came to an end on February 28, 1991, ending Desert Storm. The Marine Corps OV-10s proved to be an excellent scouters, allowing fast movers and battleships to put effective fire where the coalition needed it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please subscribe so you won't miss any more of these Gulf War videos. If you are a fan of reconnaissance aircraft, you should definitely watch this OV-1 Mohawk video right here.